Guardians of the Galaxy may be this generation's Mad Max, Alien Isolation, and The Evil Within to me. Having said that though, it's also better than some of those games, and I can't understand how the industry attempts to measure what a quality game is anymore. I played this for a short time on my PS5 Pro with the ray tracing turned on, and I was having a great time. There's nothing wrong with that version of the game. Then I remembered, wait a minute, I have this game on PC, let's see if I can go play it at least 4K 60 FPS over there. So I actually ended up starting all over again and playing the first few hours on PC at around 4K 100 FPS. Unfortunately, I did lose some time, but it also made for a much better experience. And I have to say, guys, this one, it may be the game that steals my visuals crown for the current generation. Sure, we have a handful of games that are more detailed that were available at this time, but none that give me the same vibes. You know me, if we're talking visuals, it's not just one or the other, it's a combination of the great technical aspects, but also that artistic side. Somehow they pulled it off. I don't know how, but they pulled it off. This is exactly what I would expect a Guardians of the Galaxy game to look like. And just because there are games that are superior in some respects doesn't mean that Guardians is some slouch. This game actually has a pretty insane amount of detail considering what it is, and it is a first try. One of the few things they had to get right, and I think they nailed, at least for me, and that was the characters. It's apples to oranges in some ways because they don't quite look like the characters from the movies, but it's still really close, and I love that Eidos Montreal put their own flavor on this. I mean, just look at Gamora. Let's be serious here.
Oh, then why aren't you in it?
I was, strategizing. It's just one thing to get into the zone, but we still gotta catch.
Peter, or, Star-Lord, pick your poison, also looks as I would expect him to look. And look at that damn jacket. There's crazy detail everywhere in this game, but seriously, look at that jacket. These guys are underrated. I'm not even kidding when I say this. They were very meticulous when developing this game. As cool as some of those little details with the characters and things like the ship are, the biggest star of this show might actually be the environments. They are so damn visually appealing and so varied, I don't see how you could ever be bored with these environments. Every location, has me thinking in my mind, this is why I mention meticulously crafted. You guys know me, I don't know how it was done. I don't know how much of it is comic book accurate. I do know that each location had something new, it had something to surprise me with and made me like the game more and more. You never feel like you got cheated out of something that you should have seen and didn't. There are rainy environments, sunny environments, snowy environments. Another thing that took me by surprise, facial expressions are incredibly detailed in this game. There are many moments that show this off well, but take a look at this scene here with Nikki crying to Peter about her missing mom.
Focus, Is this what it's always gonna be like?
I don't know. It's different for everyone. But there was no one like your mom. She really, really loved you.
So many games have HDR, but they don't use it well. This game had some of the best use of HDR in any game ever, period. Do not play this game in SDR unless it's your only option. Was really quite pleased with this game's visuals. I don't know what else to say except it's an A+ effort. Truly, guys, it is excellent work, especially from an art style point of view.
What is next, Peter Quill?
Sam! I love playing South the Zealot!
These deluded souls do not know when to quit!
Listen to Groot! Get it!
What to say about the gameplay in Guardians of the Galaxy? Man, I'm sure everyone has their own idea of what could have made any game that they've ever played better, whether you enjoyed that game or not. With this one, I'm not sure if I can do that, but I'll come back to that. Even though we have access to a ship traveling through space and can go just about anywhere that we'd like, we don't do much of that beyond Eidos Montreal's intent. This is very much a linear, story-driven game with locations and gameplay moments that are important to the story being told. So with that, Guardians gameplay centers around three things. Combat, a tiny bit of exploration, and some dialogue decisions that can affect the way team members feel about you, as well as some key story moments. And this is very much an action game in the Marvel Universe done better than most. As with a lot of games today, the opening area is our tutorial and it shows you the basics. How to shoot, how to punch, how to access team abilities in your favor. Those things are through combat situations as well as exploration. And each member has their own abilities unique to what you'd expect from their skill set. Peter can fly around the battle area, for example, and get a better look at the enemy types and what needs to be done to eliminate each threat. Rocket uses his brain and technology in battle, and those things can be combined with some of Groot's abilities to lock a cluster of enemies into place as Rocket blows them up. Drax is sort of your powerhouse or your tank. Some of his attacks can stun enemies for group finishers or give you a few more seconds of cooldown for the rest of the team. Gamora is like your slasher, and she has quick slashing attacks that do a lot of damage. And this isn't just one attack or two attacks, there are several for each member. As you progress, of course, you can level each character and new abilities will unlock. How do you do this? One of the cooler mechanics is the more varied you can make your combat flow, the higher the score you get at the end of each encounter. You just want to try and stay on your toes and keep all characters involved and don't just, focus on using one character's abilities. Each member of the Guardians also has one very powerful, we'll say, ultimate attack that unlocks with the story beats of the game. Once that member decides that they now fully trust the team, or finally do that one brave thing they've always avoided where possible, their ultimate ability then unlocks, and I gotta say, man, these are truly devastating. It doesn't quite end there for Star-Lord, though. You will obtain all of his attacks for combat, but his blasters also receive new elements as you progress. These elements are just as important in combat as they are in exploration. And it's because of stuff like that where you can look at this game and you can say, this was so well thought out. And it's these kinds of things that are going to keep me playing. Eidos Montreal could have just given you upgrade points and you could have earned a lot of this stuff through the menus, but they wanted you to use all of those elements. Everything that they've implemented into this game, they wanted you to use. All of the team members and all of their abilities. Some combat and exploration situations are just better for, say, Peter and Rocket. Others, you can say Gamora and Groot. Because even though each member has their own combat abilities, they also have their own exploration abilities that you'll need to use as well. Then coming back to those elements and the blasters that are required for taking on specific enemies, some you'll need to freeze, others require fire. But to get shields and stamina down, you'll need to learn which enemies are weak to the elements. As I said though, it doesn't stop at the combat. Drax is the only one that you're going to see move heavy objects, for example. Rocket, of course, is the only one that's going to fit into those tiny, hard-to-reach areas. Gamora is swift and agile and can cut objects down that no one else can reach. Peter's blasters also have this, we'll say, Gears of War active reload type of mechanic, and that's used during exploration for a number of things as well. In a lot of games that have companions around the main character, I'm glad that I don't have to use them to move forward. Sometimes I'm also annoyed that I'm being forced to use a character that I don't necessarily want to play as, but liking all of these characters, I would say, helps with that a lot, at least for me. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is I wasn't bothered by having to use all of these characters in combat or in exploration. And as I mentioned before, this is a very linear game, but there is a decent amount to explore. And I feel like you're going to want to do that anyway, if for no other reason than to get more materials for upgrading at the workbench. You get one guaranteed workbench on the ship, and the others, they come as you explore new areas. Another reason you might want to explore is to unlock some of the cooler outfits. A lot of these are cool. There's some cool outfits, but I gotta say, the developer including the outfits from the first movie was a nice touch.
On Earth, a lot of people think that good people go to heaven and are reunited with their loved ones when they die.
This heaven sounds pleasant.
Yeah, it does. Thinking of her there, my mom.
Admittedly, I haven't actually read any of the Guardians of the Galaxy comic stuff, so it's hard to know how good some of that source material is versus the video game. I know that I really enjoyed the Guardians movies or the cameos that they make in the non-Guardian films, and it's clear to me that many developers on this team love all that stuff and more. This probably wasn't like the, new IP insane project that they always wanted to make, but this licensed game felt like a passion project, especially with the story. It has a lot of that same humor that we've come to know and love. It has those more serious moments that may or may not bring out your emotions. It definitely did with me. And every character felt just as perfectly cast as the movies, even the characters that I'm not that familiar with. I would say that there's not a single bum when it comes to the acting in this game. But most of all, the thing that they did better than anything else when it comes to the story is they found a way to make it all feel more than believable.
Every minute we waste. We don't have time to breathe.
I know Raker brings back bad memories.
This isn't about Thanos. It's about Nikki and what men like Raker and Thanos do to girls like her. Like me. My sister. If I had just been better at protecting Nebula, maybe she wouldn't be dead.
And I feel the area that tackles that best is often the gameplay moments. Quill and company are always chatting it up about something. These guys, you know how they are, they can't shut up. There aren't a lot of quiet moments, and that's great because you never feel like, hey man, I don't know, this is kind of lame, or I don't know, these characters seem kind of boring. Even just like while you're exploring and you go off on some random path, they'll mention this and start asking where the hell you went and why the hell are you doing what you're doing. That's an insane detail, like insane attention to detail. It's awesome, guys, because most games don't have that and they don't do it for the story that they're trying to tell. Let's be serious, a lot of games during exploration, there really isn't a whole lot going on. For some games that kind of works, for other games you just wish there was more. When you're playing the majority of narrative-driven action games, the characters, they just don't have these constant conversations. They don't often have characters like these that, I find interesting and clown each other with ease. Guardians of the Galaxy has that, and it needed that for me to respect what they made here.
Before you named it, my skin is not green. It's teal.
Teal.
This game took me by surprise, guys. Truly and honestly, I mean that. I don't play a lot of new games. I'm a gamer that often plays catch-up because I'm too busy playing a lot of the older titles. Very few games come out that I buy on day one and I say to myself, oh man, I've got to play this right this second and not put it down until I beat it. That sort of specific scenario just isn't something that happens for me very often. If I had known what I was getting myself into with this one, I would have played it a long time ago. If we're just talking games that were released in the current generation, I would say that this is the best one that I've played by far. Unfortunately, it kind of feels like this game came and went. Somehow, some way, it came and it went. And something that was this good somehow also didn't meet sales expectations, which is an even bigger bummer. Because let's face it, we may never get a sequel from the same developer, and they absolutely deserve to make a sequel to this game. I don't know how that happened because I think it's better than great. I think it ticks all the boxes that you'd want to be ticked in a modern AAA game without a bunch of the fluff, without a bunch of the filler. Outstanding visuals, presentation, and optimization. It's crazy. A cool and engaging gameplay loop, one of the best stories you can play for a video game, and a crazy amount of licensed music that brings it all together. I'm going to give Guardians of the Galaxy a 10. I think whether you're playing this on your PS5, your Xbox, your PC, it's a 10. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you liked it, like it. If you didn't, dislike it, share it. I appreciate you guys very much. We will do it again soon. You guys take care and have a good one.